All right, and our final speaker before lunch is Megan Howatt-Kinzler. Megan joined the MAS-MBC program with the goal of pivoting from Silicon Valley's tech scene to the nonprofit world of conservation. She's got a passion for interdisciplinary problem solving because it gives her the opportunity to work with diverse groups and combine creativity with process design and structure. Megan came in with a strategy. She came in with the goal of applying her knack for systems thinking to ocean conservation. We sat and we broke down which NGOs were big enough and complex enough to be able to really use the skill set that she brings. We talked about which mentors were the right ones to help sort of chart her career path in this next step after the program. And I'm just so excited to see her in her next steps, which I think are going to start this summer, and the impact that she has on the ocean conservation world. She really is going to be taking her rightful place as an ocean leader, and I know she's going to do great things, and I can't wait to see it. No pressure,
right?
But it's going to be amazing. The title of Megan's presentation is Tides of Opportunity, the Blue Economy in U.S. National Marine Sanctuaries. Welcome, Megan.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Having spent over a decade in the corporate tech world of Silicon Valley, I am well versed in the power of a buzzword. In fact, my husband often rolls his eyes at me when I pitch our dinner choice as a win-win, or I suggest we do a deep dive into our schedules for the week. But buzzwords aren't only found in Silicon Valley. We see them everywhere in the environmental arena as well. From words like upcycle, words like zero waste, and things like clean tech. And you aren't alone if you find yourself asking, what do these words actually mean? One of those words that's growing in popularity is the blue economy. You may scroll through your morning news feed and see an article like this, or a headline like this, or a short clip like this. But again, what is exactly meant when we hear the words blue economy? And more importantly, how does it intersect with conservation? I've spent the past 10 weeks researching these questions, and today I'm excited to take you through what is the blue economy and how can it be applied to conservation. So first, what does someone mean when they refer to the word blue economy? The European government defines the blue economy as economic activities related to oceans, seas, and coasts. What this actually means is adding up all of the amount of money that's made from various industries, whether it's transportation, fishing, or drilling offshore for oil and gas. Here in the United States, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, defines the blue economy as the sustainable use of ocean resources for economic growth, improved livelihoods, and job creation. This definition recognizes that the blue economy is about more than just economic growth. It also shows that the blue economy means different things to different people. These definitions are just two of many different ones that I came across in my research. They are used differently by different organizations and governments around the world. And so the reality is we have a choice in what type of blue economy we want to build. When the revenue of an activity is the only priority determining the value of what we derive from the ocean, the consequences can be severe, from things like habitat degradation that we talked about earlier today, to overfishing, to large environmental disasters. And these consequences jeopardize the ocean's ability to deliver on resources and experiences that we all rely on in one way or another. If instead, we hold ourselves to developing a blue economy that prioritizes not only economic growth, but also the health of the environment and improves the livelihoods of other people in an equitable way, we have a chance to build a lasting blue economy for generations to come. And by using these three components as ingredients for our blue economy, my next question was, how can conservationists help make a sustainable blue economy a reality? So to explore this question, I partnered with the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation. This is the official nonprofit partner of NOAA that is focused on supporting conservation efforts in marine sanctuaries and monuments around the United States. This here is a map of all of the different sanctuaries and monuments that we have. And national marine sanctuaries are protected areas that are designated to preserve critical habitats, protect threatened species, and culturally significant heritage sites like shipwrecks. And while each sanctuary that we see here has different levels of protections and regulations in place, marine sanctuaries are natural classrooms. They are prized recreational destinations, and they're home to valuable commercial industries. And this is what makes sanctuaries an ideal place to launch blue economy programs that not only benefit the sanctuary economies, but also help advance conservation, education, and innovation goals. So in order to build upon what a blue economy could look like in the National Marine Sanctuary system, I went down to Florida and I partnered with the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation and partners at NOAA and the Mote Marine Laboratory to facilitate a workshop on what blue economy could look like in this sanctuary. Over 3 days, all of these different partners that we met with came together to talk about what are the greatest needs and opportunities. And we also used this time to introduce the concept of a blue economy to this working group. We debated fundamental attributes like what are the values of a blue economy and what type of activities should or should not be included in it. We even brainstormed ideas of what actual projects could look like in the sanctuary using a template like this. And this resulted in all sorts of some creative, some crazy ideas relating to things like ecotourism and aquaculture. And while I'm not here to debate whether or not there is such thing as a bad idea, one key takeaway from the workshop was that the application of the blue economy in conservation still feels really nebulous. And it still feels like we're in need of tangible examples to understand what this actually means. How can strategies, models, frameworks be turned into actual on-the-ground programs that can deliver a positive rate of return while operating in an environmentally and socially responsible way? And even more specifically, how can we determine if a new idea meets the criteria of the blue economy that we want to see? So in an effort to help answer that question, I designed a tool to help the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation and its partners determine if an idea for a project fits what we're calling the blue economy. If we continue to look at the 3 components that we aligned on earlier, what this tool does is it enables a project proposal to be run through 3 different analyses to determine what it would mean and what it would look like in a specific area. So let's go through an actual example that came out of the workshop. I'm interested in opening a cafe and in the Florida National Marine Sanctuary. I intend to serve locally caught sustainable seafood. I want to donate a percentage of my profits to local reef restoration efforts. I want to employ local workforce, and I'm interested in hosting community events that can help raise awareness. So using the lens of the feasibility assessment, we can go through each of the 3 components. I can start by looking at what is the economic viability of this idea. I can analyze what the small cafe market looks like in the area. I can forecast what I anticipate the revenue to be. And I can look at the competition and other factors that I think set my cafe apart from others. After that, I can look at the environmental factors. I can partner with local fishermen to understand local fish stock levels, what fishing management practices are already in place, and I can help determine how feasible it is for the local ecosystem to support the demands of what my cafe would require. And finally, I can analyze how I can integrate my proposed cafe into the community in an inclusive and equitable way. Since I'm not a local, I would plan to find a co-manager of the area that can help me run my cafe. I can put them in a leadership position and also look to find opportunities for both part-time and full-time positions, offer competitive salaries, and even potentially benefits that are may not typically common in this industry. And by completing this exercise, looking at a comprehensive view of all three of these areas, I can determine if this idea is a good fit and if it aligns to the goals of the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation and its Blue Economy program. A tool like this can help inform decision makers as they look to decide what gets invested in and what doesn't. It helps them provide a process to ensure that ventures support broader goals. They're not just economically focused, but they're also taking into account the environmental and the social needs across the sanctuary system. It's also important to know that this idea and what works as it is being assessed in Florida may not work for a sanctuary off the coast of California or even further up the coast on the East Coast. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to these types of applications, and it's critical to understand the unique attributes and needs of every single area. Additionally, this example of a cafe is just one of many ideas that came up out of this workshop and are a budding area within the Blue Economy. So things like ecotourism experiences, experimenting with new and sustainable aquaculture methods, and testing new technologies to support research and data collection are all interesting things that can be piloted and leveraged in a sanctuary as a partnership with government and, with a partnership with public and private partnerships. The Blue Economy doesn't have to just be another buzzword. Rather, it can be used as a powerful approach to guide thoughtful investment into new business ventures that are not only profitable, but help advance environmental stewardship and improve the livelihoods of coastal communities through equitable partnerships. A thriving Blue Economy is possible if we choose to prioritize these components, and conservation organizations can help lead the way in making that possible. Thank you. I would also like to thank my amazing capstone committee. Several members from the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation, as well as Samantha, played a huge role in this as my members of the cohort. And finally, my family and friends. I had an unexpected personal situation that came up where I didn't know if I was going to be able to be here today and finish this program. So I am just incredibly thankful and supportive for every person that helped me be able to stand up here today. So with that, I will open it up for questions.
I thought it was so interesting in the beginning when you discussed the difference between the European Commission's definition and the US, and also really interested in your corporate background yourself, and wondering, so much of the Blue Economy things that you've elevated and others are really small businesses. What about those huge businesses who, especially if they're publicly traded, are beholden to shareholders only for profit and not for the social impacts that you've described as being so important, and the environmental ones? What do we do about that in the context of trying to push a Blue Economy? Is there a role for corporations? And if they're not B Corps, what do we do?
Yeah, that's an incredible question. And one of actually the drivers that is the reason why I left the corporate world and am here in conservation trying to change that reality. I think that the way that the corporate structure is set up is they are reliant to their shareholders. And so for me, what that means is the shareholder demands have to change, and what we value and how we choose to spend our money as consumers is the most individually impactful thing that we can do. And I just hope that as my cohort progresses in their careers, we become the next generation of the board members and the leaders in these types of spaces, and we're asking those types of questions. I think that, and not to overgeneralize, but the past generations in the Industrial Revolution of the United States and the evolution of the just booming economy has been very economically driven. I'm hopeful because I think that our generation and the generations coming up behind us see it differently, and they think that it's possible to do a blue economy that has all three of these components. And so, yeah, corporations have a tremendous amount of power. And I think that they can put out sexy buzzwords, and it's important to hold them to meaningful, and impactful results. So it's honestly one of the reasons that I'm here. And I hope to, after leaving this program, go back out there and help bring those questions into the boardrooms and into the bigger spaces where there's meaningful change that's possible.
Did you come across any examples of the blue economy in San Diego?
I did. So for San Diego is the perfect place actually for blue economy pilots right now because of all of the work that's happening with the Port of San Diego. So they are huge leaders in not only business practices, but helping to create funding for entrepreneurs that want to try new ideas. So the Port of San Diego have opened up its waters and partnered with different software engineers, hardware engineers, all sorts of different levels of entrepreneurship, and said, let us help you work through the regulatory processes that are required to test technologies in government-owned waters. And they're have an entire incubator program where they're putting through millions of dollars of funding for new and innovative ideas. And it's just down the coast here. So Blue Tech Bay is kind of the way of that they're marketing it. And it's really creating a great example that nonprofits like the National Marine Sanctuary can pull from as they look to do something similar in sanctuary waters as well. Thank you.
Nice job, Megan.